the Supreme Court will say that. Yes, Kpemka.
Samson, 30 seconds. I'm going to make reference to something. On the 9th of April, 2009, this letter was written at the office of the President. His Excellency J.E.A. Mills. Accumulated leave, Mr. Edward Duajima. The records show that you have accumulated leave of approximately 264. Hold on.
How could you have not expected this? Please, let him talk. Yes, go on.
No. I'm saying that this letter is in the public domain.
Yes, so let him read. Go ahead, please.
Go ahead.
It's just a few lines. Go ahead.
I am directed by His Excellency the President of the Republic of Ghana, John Evans Atta Mills, to request that you take the said leave with effect from Wednesday, April 15, 2009. His Excellency further directs that you hand over all matters relating to the Office of the Auditor General to Mr. Richard Korte, Deputy Auditor General, who is by a copy of this letter requested to act as Auditor General until further notice. I'm drawing your attention to something. Now, on the 29th of June, 2020, accumulated annual leave, Mr. Daniel Yao Domelevo. According to the records available to the office, you have accumulated annual leave of 123 working days. I am thus directed by the President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, to request that you take your accumulated annual leave of 123 working days, effect from Wednesday, 1st July 2020. Now, question, to the best of your knowledge, belief, or both, is there any court order or declaration that declared that what His Excellency President Neil uttered was unlawful and unconstitutional?
What question is that?
Wait.
No,
He's
I want to know.
to himself. So
is it a rhetorical question?
Yeah, rhetorical.
Okay.
You should be answering.
My answer is that none. That specific letter was not challenged in court.
It was challenged.
Hold it.
PCRP for it challenged.
No. I'm talking about. I know of the PCRP for its case.
So
I'm talking about the effect of this letter.
The consequence of the letter.
The effect of the letter.
The consequences of the letter was challenged in court.
Namely that.
Yes.
When this particular letter was written to Duajima and he proceeded on leave, the question I am asking today is the declaration that was made recently with respect to the proceed on leave letter by His Excellency Nana Addo, and the fact that a declaration has been made by the Supreme Court that that particular directive or letter was unconstitutional, specific. I'm saying that precedence guides governance. And so if President guides governance, and His Excellency the President in his judgment wrote this particular letter and said proceed on leave, and which has now been declared to be unconstitutional. And at the time of writing the letter, His Excellency the President was exercising his executive power, which is given to him by the Constitution. And he did it knowing very well in him that what he was doing was right, and in consonance and on all fours with the Constitution, which has later been declared null and void. Are you able to establish that at the time of writing this particular letter and asking the person to proceed on leave, the President was deliberate and willful and knew that what he was doing was unconstitutional and went ahead to do it?
How and at what point?
Are you able to establish that?
How and at what point do we determine judicially that a conduct of the President is in violation of the Constitution?
I mean, if you put it before the court makes a pronouncement.
Yes, so the court has done in this case.
Yes. So I'm saying that the court's pronouncement will now guide us.
Without consequence.
No, but the court, you see, one thing I have to state also is that, unfortunately, all three of us are lawyers. You know that there have been landmark cases in this country that we go to court for just declarations. After that, we go celebrating, and no consequential orders are made. Salah is one. And other cases which have followed. So in this particular case, it was for probably the plaintiffs to seek certain reliefs. And you remember that...
To seek a relief for the impeachment of the President?
No, not impeachment of the President.
No, they are talking about reliance on the judgment that the President acted unconstitutional. He was wrong. On the basis of that, they say he has breached the Constitution. So, once he has violated it...
And the point is this. Again, you know, if there is a breach, and you want to trigger the process of removal of the President, there's a process.
That's correct.
Yeah.
There's a process. And you also need certain numbers, even in parliament.
No, but what we are interrogating here now is that, and I'm saying that basis for triggering impeachment?
My position is that it is not.
Okay.
And I have stated the reason why it is not. I'm saying that it must be willful. Because if I say that, for example, I acted in good conscience and I acted in manners that was in the interest of the country, I did not actually have in contemplation that my act will be unlawful at the end. And remember that it is only the Supreme Court that has the power to declare that your act is unconstitutional. So after litigation, they have declared that the act of the president is unconstitutional and etc. When in fact, and in belief, at the time of actually writing this letter, he was convicted that what he was doing was in conformity with the Constitution. So you cannot establish that willfulness. So I'm saying that it is not the basis, it cannot be the basis to trigger the removal of the president.
Is it important?
But if you do, then of course you must comply with the dictates of the Constitution.
Is it important to, is this noteworthy that, well, this is a civil process after all, so if there's no pronouncement on the back of it, that's where it ends.
That's where it ends.
So when will you ever get the president pronounced by a court and that pronouncement can be used as the basis for him breaching his oath and breaching the Constitution and therefore has to suffer the penalty for it, which is what he swore to? Because the president, whilst he's in office, is not even liable to a suit. He can't be prosecuted for any crime or anything. So when will we ever get a court make a pronouncement that affects the president while he sits in office?
It's very interesting because of the constitutional architecture. And again, I heard Martin say it, and I agree with him, that if you look at the transition from the military junta to civilian, we did some concessions in the Constitution in the name of inviting democracy.
Right.
We did some concessions. So probably we need to have a take at the Constitution if we have to actually actualize what we intend. Otherwise, what we're going to have here is that in the end, you are going to put this remember that it's going to go to Parliament if you want to go to impeachment processes and all that.
Right.
And when you trigger it there, the debate will be carried out.
So,